Modal verbs of deduction at the present tense. She can't be broke. She must be rich. She might share. Hello and welcome to English Speaking 360. My name is Josh. Today I'm helping you understand 8 modal verbs used for present deductions. Must, will, should, ought to, could, might, may, and can, plus some of the negative forms of these 8 modal verbs. Don't miss the final quiz, it will really show you if you understand. Let's get started. Every day we use clues to figure things out. Look at these clouds. Is it going to rain? How sure are you? Are you 70% sure? Are you 50% sure? Are you only 20% sure? That's what we're dealing with today. The doorbell rings at 4 p.m. Who could it be? Is it your mom? Is it the neighbor? Is it a delivery person? How certain are you? Your coworker is not at her desk. Where is she? You probably don't know, but you can guess. And that is the point of today's video. When you are not 100% sure, you have to find clues. You have to look for evidence. For example, right here, she left her cell phone on her laptop. Also, there is a fresh cup of coffee. Now, you have to make a logical guess. A guess is also a deduction. And finally, you have to say it with modal verbs like must, may, and can't. So if you put it all together, you could say, she can't be gone. She may be taking a break. She must be in the restroom. These sentences here are all made with modals of deduction because they show that you are not 100% certain. Super important right here. This is the most important slide of the whole video, so follow me very carefully. The certainty ladder. If you are 100% certain, it means you know, so you use regular verbs. For example, I could say, you like my videos. I am 100% sure. But if you are not 100%, you have to use modal verbs. For example, must, when you are very sure of something. 90% will. 80% should or ought to. 50% may, might, and could. 20% shouldn't. 10% must not. And finally, 5% sure can't or couldn't. Now today we're going to take each one of those one by one, step by step, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to use them. Let's get started with must at 95%. Must is used when you have super strong evidence. So that's why you are 95% sure, because just by looking at the evidence, you say that is most probably right. For example, she's yawning and she has dark circles. Look at the picture. What is your deduction? My deduction is tired. So my sentence becomes, she must be tired. I cannot say she is tired because I don't know for sure. I'm not at 100%, but here I'm at 95% certainty, so I say she must be tired. Here's another example. She just graduated. Yay! Your deduction is probably happy, right? So now let's make a sentence with must. She must be happy. Now here, let me show you the structure. Must plus the base verb. And that is what we use for present deductions. She must be happy. So right after must, you need a base verb. No ing, no ed, no to. Just the verb. She must be happy. Your fridge is empty. Oh, that's terrible. So what is your deduction? Probably hungry. So remember, you need must plus the base verb to make your sentence. Let's do it. You must be hungry. Maybe you think, Josh, why are you always using the verb be, but you say base verb? Can we use any verb? Yes, you can use any verb. Let me give you an example. Your fridge is empty. Now, your deduction could be eat out often. So that could be a good deduction. So you eat out often, so you don't need to keep anything in your fridge, right? So now make the sentence. You must eat out often. You must eat out often. In this case, you see the base verb is the verb eat. It is not the verb be. But very often when we make deductions, we use the verb to be. Let's move on to the next one. Now, I'm not going to 90%. Let's go to 5% because it is the opposite of must. Must is at 95%. Can't, couldn't is at only 5% certainty. So you are very sure it is not. Can't, couldn't equals no way. So when you're 95% sure it is not true, let me give you a great example. He says he is 30 years old on his Tinder profile, but your deduction is no way, that guy is not 30 years old, okay? So what can you say? You can say, he can't be 30 years old because you are 95% sure that it's not true. You are only 5% sure that it could possibly be true. Here's another one. He couldn't be 30. So in this case, you can use can't or couldn't. Couldn't in this case does not have a past meaning. It's not the past of can. It's just another way to say that it's not possible. It's a little bit more formal than can't. He couldn't be 30 years old. He looks like he's 50. So once again here, you have to use can't or couldn't plus the base verb for present deductions. You need another example. A video shows a baby lifting weights. Oh, TikTok, of course. What is your deduction? No way. You know that is probably not possible, right? So you can say, that couldn't be real. That can't be real. Same thing. But you can also say, babies can't lift weights. You see, this here is a great example that for the base verb, you can use either the verb to be or you can use any other verb. Can't or couldn't plus base verb. Let's get back to our certainty ladder now. We've done 95, we've done 5. Now I'm taking you to the middle, 50%. May, might, and could is a maybe. May, might, and could all mean pretty much the same. They mean maybe, or they mean it is a possibility. It is one of the many possibilities. So use this when you're not sure. You're 50-50, you're on the fence. Let me give you an example. Your son is not answering his phone. Mom is calling, of course. So what could possibly be happening? Maybe you think he's working. Working is one of the many possibilities, but you are not sure. So you could say, he may be at work, or he may be working. Same thing. But in this sentence, you can also use might instead of may. He might be at work. He could be at work. They all mean the same thing, 50-50. But there are many other possibilities. For example, he could be sleeping. He may be sleeping, he might be sleeping, same thing. So right here, may, might, or could plus base verb again for present deductions. Here's another example. Your friend is late for coffee. What is your deduction? There are many possibilities in this case, right? So maybe you think, car trouble? It's possible. So you can say, she may have car trouble. That's possible, 50-50, but you could also say she might be stuck in traffic. That's another possibility. So you see here, once again, the base verb, she may have car trouble. It's not the verb to be in this case. But in the second example, we use the verb to be because the expression is to be stuck in traffic. She might be stuck in traffic. These are the most important modals of deduction. You ready? Must, may, might, could, and can't. Now, if you remember only 3 of the steps from the certainty ladder today, remember these 3. They are the most important ones. For 50%, if you're not comfortable with may, might, and could, just remember 1. Maybe just remember could. Must, could, and can't. That's super easy to remember, and that will help you a lot to make basic deductions. Now let's get back to our full ladder. I'm going to get into the more difficult ones now. Let's go with will, 90%. Will for confident logical inference. Will is used for habit-based deductions, and we use it when we are 90% sure, but when your deduction is based on a pattern. This is super important right here. So will is not used as a regular modal verb of deduction. It is used when you have a pattern, not evidence, just a pattern. Let me show you what I mean. My boss calls every Friday at 5 p.m. That is the pattern. My boss always calls every Friday at 5 p.m. It is now 5 p.m. on Friday. My phone is ringing. What is my deduction? My deduction is it's my boss calling, and I'm not happy about it because he's calling to check up on me to make sure that I'm still at the office on Friday evening at 5 p.m. He's making sure that I haven't left early. So my sentence will be, that will be the boss calling. That will be is kind of a set sentence that we use very often when we use a habit-based deduction. That will be the boss calling. That will be my wife pulling into the driveway. That will be the neighbor mowing the lawn at 7 a.m. on a Sunday. So, for will, once again, it's always the same pattern. You see, will plus the base verb, and that is for present deductions. Let me give you one more that's a little bit different. Hello, baker. The bakery always sells out of bread by 9 a.m. That is the pattern. If you go there at 9 a.m., there is no more bread. They're out of bread. They sold out. Now, what is the situation? It is now 9:30. So, what is your deduction? Your deduction should be out of bread. But you're 90% sure. You cannot say 100% sure they are out of bread because it might happen that they still have bread. You don't know. You're not 100% sure. So, you can say they will be out of bread or they will be out of bread by now. Will plus be. You see, in this case, it's not that will be, it's they will be out of bread. They means the bakery or the bakery people in this case. Let's get back here. Now let's move down the ladder to 80% should or ought to as expected. This is a little bit challenging here. Should is very common. It means it is expected. Ought to is not used very often. So it's good for you to know it, but you don't need to use it. You can use should, that's fine. There's no problem with it. But if you hear ought to or oughta, then you know that it means should. We use these two when we are 80% sure, but based on logic. You remember, will was based on a pattern, should and ought to based on logic. For example, my parents left 4 hours ago. So they left my house by car 4 hours ago, and the drive home takes 3 hours. So what is your deduction? They are home now. That should be your logical deduction because they've had an extra hour to get home. So your sentence can look like this. They should be home. They should be home means I am expecting them to be home by now. It is expected. I am 80% sure. Now, if my parents had left 6 hours ago and the drive home takes 3 hours, maybe I would have said they must be home by now. And if you want to use ought to, they ought to be home. When we speak fast, we say they ought to be home. The pattern is the same as before, should or ought to plus the base verb for present deductions. Here's another example. The train is scheduled for 3 p.m. It's now 2:50, so only 10 minutes before departure. So what do you think is going to happen within the next 10 minutes? The train is going to arrive soon. But you're not 100% sure because maybe the train is not going to arrive. Maybe the train will be late. So you can say the train should arrive soon. Should arrive. In this case, the base verb is not be, but you could also say the train should be here soon. That would be perfect as well. Should or ought to plus the base verb. Let's get back to our certainty ladder. Now we are down to 20%. Shouldn't. Shouldn't is the opposite of should. Should was at 80%. Shouldn't is at 20%. So something that is expected not to happen. Let me explain. Shouldn't is used when you're 80% sure based on logic that it's not going to happen. For example, you have to go to the bank on Tuesday morning. That's a very common situation. Do you think it will be busy? So do you think the bank is going to be busy on Tuesday morning? What is your deduction? What do you think about that? I think not busy. I am 20% sure that it will be busy. So what do I say? It shouldn't be busy on Tuesday morning. Here the pattern is just like we've studied with the other ones, shouldn't plus base verb for present deductions. Now maybe you wonder, teacher, should is the same as ought to, and here shouldn't is alone? Yes, because we don't use ought not to very often, so I'm not teaching it to you because you shouldn't be using it. Use shouldn't. It shouldn't be busy on Tuesday morning. One more example. You are good students and the homework has only 10 questions. So imagine a teacher is talking to his students and he's telling them that they are very good students and the homework is only 10 questions long. So what is the deduction? Not take a long time, right? So the homework will not take a long time to finish. What do you say? It shouldn't take you long to finish. It shouldn't take you long to finish. So here the base verb is not the verb to be. It's take a long time. So it shouldn't take you a long time. In this case, I'm 80% sure that it will not take you a long time. I'm only 20% sure that it will take you a long time. That's what shouldn't means. Here's the last one, 10% must not. Strong negative deduction. Now be careful with this one. Must not is not the same as mustn't. For deductions, we do not use mustn't. We use must not. So you can use it when you're 90% sure of someone's lack of knowledge or someone's lack of awareness. So this specific modal of deduction is very, very narrow. You cannot use it in all situations. So you use it only for lack of knowledge or a lack of awareness. Here's an example for lack of knowledge. An intern is preparing the conference room, but the meeting was canceled. So you know that the meeting was canceled, but the intern is preparing the conference room as if there would be a meeting. So what is your deduction? She doesn't know that the meeting was canceled. So what do you say? You say, ha 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 ha, I'm not gonna tell her. No, you say she must not know the meeting was canceled. Must not follows the same pattern as before. You add the base verb right after. She must not know the meeting was canceled. It means I am 90% sure that she doesn't know that the meeting was canceled. So I'm going to tell her. Now here's an example for a lack of awareness. You're waving at your friend across the street. Your friend is walking on the other side of the street, but your friend doesn't wave back. So what is your deduction? Maybe you think he doesn't see me. He is not aware that I am waving at him. So in that case, you would say, he must not see me waving. He must not see me waving means I am 90% sure that he does not see me waving at this very moment. It's not because he hates me. It's just because he didn't notice that I'm waving at him. Excellent, we've done so much work here today, but just before the final quiz, let me give you a summary that will really help you with the different levels of certainty. The first one is must at 95%. It's based on evidence. You see a wet umbrella, you think it must be raining. Will is at 90%. Watch out here. This one is based on a pattern or a habit. That will be my wife calling. Should and ought to, 80%, based on logic, based on expectation. He left his place an hour ago. He should be here soon. May, might, and could, only 50%. It's a possibility. It is one of the possibilities. If you call a friend and there is no answer, you can say, he may be driving. He might be driving. He could be driving. They are all the same. Shouldn't, 20%. Once again, based on logic, based on expectation. The test shouldn't be difficult. I'm a good student, so the test shouldn't be difficult. Must not, 10%, lack of knowledge or lack of awareness. He must not know I'm here. He probably doesn't know that I'm already here. And the last one, 5%, can't and couldn't, is based on evidence. You can't be 20, you look older. You couldn't be 20, you look older. They are both similar, but remember, couldn't is a little bit more formal. Great! Now let's test your skills. 10 questions. Let's go. Joseph claims to be able to speak 20 languages fluently. Yeah, right. So what would you say to that? That be true. That would be impossible. So let me give you a few options here at the bottom if you need them. You ready? That can't be true. That would be impossible. But you can also use couldn't. It also works. That couldn't be true. That would be impossible. Question 2. Your phone battery was dead. After 5 minutes of charging, the indicator says it is fully charged. So your phone is showing 100% after only 5 minutes of charging. What's happening? There be something wrong with the battery. Now think about your answer. This is a little bit more difficult. It depends on your level of certainty here. You can say there must be something wrong with the battery. So if you're 95% sure, you can use must. But you could also use may. There may be something wrong with the battery if you're only at 50% certainty. Same thing with might, same thing with could as well. There could be something wrong with the battery. 50% certainty. Question 3. Your coworker always has lunch at exactly 1 p.m. It is 1:15 now. So what would you say? He be on his lunch break. He always eats lunch at exactly 1 p.m. It's a pattern. So you should use will. He will be on his lunch break now. But you could also think, should. He should be on his lunch break now. If you're 80% sure, that could work as well. Or he ought to be on his lunch break. Question 4. Your friend's car is not in his driveway. Where is he? He be at work or he be on vacation. Now you see, I'm giving you 2 different options here. That's a big clue. Let's go with the first one. He could be at work. Could is right, but you can also use he may be at work. He might be at work. Or he may be on vacation. He might be on vacation. He could be on vacation. But you could also use must. So you could definitely say he must be at work or he may be on vacation. It's okay to use both because then if you think he must be at work, that shows that you're 95% sure, or he might be on vacation, only 50% sure. Question 5. You smell freshly baked bread from the bakery downstairs. So she's sitting right in front of the window. She's sniffing the air for the aroma of freshly baked bread. What would you say in this case? They be baking this morning. You smell freshly baked bread. That is very strong evidence. So you have to use must. They must be baking this morning. That's why it smells so good. Question 6. Your package was supposed to arrive 3 days ago, but it hasn't arrived. What would you say in this case? The package be here by now. So this is a great example of a sentence based on logic. The package should be here by now, or the package ought to be here by now. Question 7. You see someone wearing a heavy coat on the beach, a winter coat. She be so hot. Everybody else is wearing a swimsuit, but she's wearing a coat. She must be so hot. You're 95% sure that she's very, very hot. Let me give you a bonus question. She be wearing that. It's 30 degrees. What would you put in the blank? She can't be wearing that. It's 30 degrees. Or she couldn't be wearing that. It's 30 degrees. You can't believe your eyes. Question 8. Your friend who loves meat and desserts is suddenly eating salad instead. She looks very sad about it too. She be on a diet. What is your answer? She may be on a diet. She might be on a diet. She could be on a diet. So a diet is one of the possible options. But I know some of you will say, well, she loves meat, so I'm 95% sure that she's on a diet. Then you can use must. She must be on a diet. Question 9. You are at the boarding gate 40 minutes before departure, waiting for your flight to board. So you know that based on experience, the regular schedule is that boarding for a flight starts about 30 minutes before departure. So they start boarding soon. They should start boarding soon, that's right, because it's based on a logical expectation. But you might argue that it's also a pattern. So boarding 30 minutes before departure is a pattern, so you could say they will start boarding soon. That also works. Question 10. Your friend says it snowed in the Sahara Desert a few days ago. So what will you say? It be snowing there. It's the hottest place on earth. What would you put in the blank? It can't be snowing there. It's the hottest place on earth. But of course, you could use couldn't as well. By the way, I know that it snows in the Sahara Desert, but many people don't know. So if you think it's not possible, then you can use can't. But sometimes it does, right? Only 5% chances of snow. That is realistic. So it can't be snowing there. It is so hot in the Sahara Desert. Excellent job, guys! Visit my website, EnglishSpeaking360.com, for all of my videos, plus extra explanations, written explanations that so many of you need, and extra activities to help you practice. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.